Benson Okwaro is the Deputy Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU. He is our guest for this final hour of the show. Brother Benson, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
First of all, why do you trade unionists call each other brother?
We inherited that name. I don't know why, but I think it's because we have a common bond. We work together. We love each other. So I think it's just like...
it's like comradeship.
Comradeship. Got it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Yes.
CT has the day's proverb.
I do.
This week's proverbs are from Mali.
They are from the country of Mali. Truth is available only to those who have the courage to question what they have been taught.
Truth is available only to those who have the courage to question what they've been taught.
Yes.
Wow. That's from Mali.
It's from Mali, the country of Mali. Yes.
What's your interpretation of that, Benson?
Repeat it again.
Truth is available only to those who have the courage to question what they have been taught.
If I was from Mali, maybe I would interpret that, but but I think maybe somebody just trying to say that it's good to be truthful. That's all.
Yes.
That's how I see it. It's good to be truthful to every aspect of whatever we do. I think so.
Is that other aspect of also questioning?
Which one?
Questioning. It's available only to those that question what they've been taught.
Okay, because you can be taught bad and good, you need to question. So that if it is bad, you say no. But if it's good, yes, it becomes good. Right.
Brother Okwaro, you are the Deputy Secretary General of COTU.
Yes.
And if I understand the structures correctly, for you to be an official of COTU, you are an official of another trade union.
Correct.
Okay. Give us now your journey in trade union movement.
Well, my journey is long, but let me start from the union that I belong to. I am the General Secretary of Communication Workers Union, which brings together all the workers in the communication sector. If it was not for the UK Union of Journalists, probably you would have been part of our membership. But we found when most of the journalists, including the KTN and the rest, are supposed to be members of KUJ, so we don't like that infighting. So we allow them to continue that direction. But yes, that's where I belong.
Okay.
Right.
How many years have you been in this movement?
For many years, from the year 1969.
That's a long time.
when I was first elected chief steward, that's 1969. I had a long journey. Yeah, but of course holding different positions. I became a general secretary in 2001. I think I'm almost on my way out. Yes.
What signifies way out? Is it your own thinking, or is it?
No, normally, my thinking, because I'm 74 years of age as I speak today, and I think by the time I end my term, I'll be getting 77, and I think that's a good time for me to do something else.
To take a back seat.
Yes, and do something else.
And look back at almost 50 years
of trade unionism.
Of trade unionism. Actually, almost 60 years.
Almost 60 years.
Wow.
Yes, so it's
a long journey.
It's a long journey, very difficult journey though, but sometimes enjoyable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at a point where, and one of the reasons why we invited you to have this conversation is to look at our state of the nation currently. Yesterday, even the president himself came out to publicly admit that, yes, we're having challenges in paying salaries on time. Not in paying salaries, actually. It's in paying salaries on time. And he said this was occasioned by, the fact that we had to also pay some debts, but we shall pay these salaries and all.
I hope we are still off air.
We are on air.
We are on air already?
Okay.
Yes, we are on air.
All right. I think I need to be prepared so that I talk. Yes, I saw his statement. everybody who lives in this country should know that we have in a very bad state of the nation in terms of economy. Yeah, but if I may talk in my capacity as the Deputy Secretary General of COTU, I think the reason that they are giving for the state in which we are, at my personal level, I think it's not right. Because you see, let's address the issue of salaries that we are having today. It's not the first time that people are not being paid salary. I know many organizations, including here, people have not been paid salary for months. I know of institutions which have not had salaries for the last 3 months, and we are struggling. At one point, there were 6 months, during COVID time. So in my capacity as the General Secretary of the Union, I weighed whether I had to push the government at that time or the corporation. That was Postal Corporation of Kenya. In my own wisdom, I thought that was not the time to go on for a strike. Because if I went for a strike during that time, you'll be arrested and you'll go to those centers. They used to call them what?
The Nyayo House centers.
No. There were those centers where they kept
for COVID,
the COVID control.
not detention.
No.
Yeah,
There's a word for it. We will
there's a
get
word
it.
for it.
Yes.
So then, apart from that, I thought that yes, the corporation was ailing, and then I thought during that time. Reducing employees was very easy for anybody at that time because there was no work. So I thought that, okay, if I had to go on the street and do that, they will give them the chance to offload the people. So I said, look, I'm going to struggle to fight and see how is it that we can manage the situation, work together with the corporation, and of course the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Labor to see that we retain the employment. I did that successfully, and I think by the time we started the year 2021, towards the end of the year 2021, before we started 2022, the Treasury were able to bail Postal Corporation of Kenya with the 810 million shillings, which they used to clear the 6 months salary that had not been paid. To me, that was a success. I got it.
6 months arrears.
6 months arrears. That was during COVID time. It was difficult, but I thought let me keep people in employment.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I think they were paid. So we started now marking the time, looking at how to make it better. Unfortunately, Postal Corporation of Kenya is not out of the woods yet, and yes, as I talk today, we are 2 months behind now. To me, that's an achievement from 6 months. And we have managed to talk to the people in the Ministry of ICT, and we have had a new management team. And we think if we do good business, we should be able to reorganize ourselves and get Postal back to business, because I think Postal lost the traditional business. In the introduction of the new technology, we are no longer posting letters. We are no longer doing the money orders, there's bank transfers, there's M-Pesa, etc.
Yeah.
So now we need to look at how do we then go into other businesses. We innovate, go into other businesses that will change our traditional business into another business so that we are able to compete. And we are picked up where we are going into e-commerce now. And yes, we are struggling to the government to give us the courier business so that we do, the business for the government, so that we post the mails to the regions, to other government offices, and that will be a huge business if it's given to us. What we need to do, we just need the government to facilitate, and so that we get logistics, and then probably be able now to move faster with the competition. And then
Can I ask a question, Mr. Okwaro? The infrastructure that Posta had was countrywide.
up to now, yes.
Does it still have that infrastructure?
It is there. We have not lost any part of it. Even right down into Siaya, into Nyeri, that infrastructure is there.
You had the courier business.
Yes, we did.
Why has it not been as competitive? Because I look at the courier business in the country, Man, that thing has grown in leaps and bounds.
In fact,
Yes, it's
e-commerce
true,
is
it's
supported
true.
by courier.
I think
Yes.
my view is that I've even given a letter to the Committee of Labour in Parliament, and the problem is we have had in this country is putting people in positions because they are politically correct. So you put people who do not understand the business. So the business starts going down slowly, and nobody wants to monitor and make changes because they want to protect the people in those positions because they are either connected politically or their relatives, things like that. So that brought us to where I are today, and it took us almost 3 years fighting to get our friend who was there then as a PMG, and it only took the current CSICT about 2 months to push him out. Actually, he was pushed out 3-4 months before his term expired.
Wow.
And he was still fighting to retain the position. Those and many others are the problems that we have. Because if you leave that, initially Postal was almost a monopoly.
Actually,
It was.
It was a monopoly.
So then you say to that, we are okay, we are going to be there. So people leave, just sleep and don't do anything else to do the
They don't
business.
innovate.
Yeah, so that was a problem. But right now, we are alive to the fact that we need to do competition. Then now the problem is, how do you do a good business? You must do a good business. One, you only have a board that can do oversight of their management team. If the board is not strong, again, if you ask me, the boards that are appointed are the same people who have either were formerly members of parliament, MCA somewhere, or a brother of some people in power. So they get there, and the first thing they do is how many meetings can we have? So we have to get how much allowances. And you see them out to Dubai to do what they
It's called benchmarking.
Benchmarking. How? But the previous CEO used to go to Tanzania and he was benchmarking. He said, how do you benchmark? How can Kenya benchmark with Tanzania when you're doing postal services? I thought that was ridiculous, but it happens. As a trade union leader, I have no role. Maybe just make noise, remove this board member, remove the other board member, but who listens to you? I don't think those are the problems we have had over the years. But I believe that we have a target of normalizing salary by June this year. We are owed. Postal is owed a lot of money
By
the government. Look at the Huduma centers. They are all domiciled.
Oh,
they are all
you're the
domiciled.
landlord.
We are the landlords, except GPO. Everywhere else, we are the landlords. Now, since the time that Governor Guru was the Minister for Devolution, to this point, the last record I had was 1.8 billion owed to Postal unpaid. Today, the figure could be more. So now, if you have those kind of things, then what are you supposed to be doing? So that's one problem we have. So then now, when they make a little money, KRA is on their feet, and they want to be paid instantly on 9th of every month. If you don't pay, any little money you make, they block the account. They block the account until you pay. So, but now we owe maybe Postal owes KRA maybe 50 million. They will close that account. They will hold it until you clear that money. That means you can't transact any business. But on the other side, the same government who owns KRA owes 2 billion shillings and they are not paying. And then because these people are powerful people who have been put there by the same government, you can't go there and say, look, if you don't give me this, I'm leaving. Nobody wants to quit in Kenya, even if you know you are not doing well, unfortunately.
So, as the workers of such an organization, they're very critical to the operations of the organization. You represent them. As a union, what kind of voice, what's the strength of your voice? Because, of course, you have a voice, but what's the strength of your voice? I'm hearing you say, you talk, but you don't have much influence.
Not really. I don't think we have influence. Traditionally, trade unions would put pressure, would call for strikes, would do those kind of things. I heard you complain about the issue of strikes, how useful they are. Yes, unions need now to be competitive. They need to be in play. They need to understand the economic trends of of a company, even of the country. So we need to train our people in a manner that they would be able to understand whether the companies are making losses or not, because the people that we have, our opposites are the people inside HR of any organization. They are vastly trained. You can't just come and say, I want 100% salary hike without bringing on the table how did you reach those figures. But that is what our employees would expect. They will not even mind if you ask 100% salary increase and the company closes tomorrow. That will not be the issue.
They want their money.
As a head, as a general secretary of a union, as a leadership in COTU, we need to look at that, and that then brings in the fact of what kind of people do we employ, so that we are able to compete with the people that the employers are bringing on board. And to that extent, COTU has done very well. We have legal team in COTU who offer services to all the COTU affiliates. We have economists who are there, well-trained economists. We have people who have done industrial training. And most of us also have trained in industrial relations matters. So we are equal to the task. We can do it. It's only that when we have a country which develops a hard system like ours, then you find it relatively difficult. But I think we are equal to the task. We are able to confront the situations as they come.
But you see, as trade unions actually have a big role that you play.
Yes.
If you look at trade unions globally, they've been able to influence policy, in fact, in some cases, even influence government. Who gets into government is highly dependent on whether they get the endorsement of trade unions or not. In this country, of course, we haven't gotten to a level where the trade unions have actually influenced who becomes president directly. But you have a lot of influence because of the various seats that you occupy in government. NSSF, you are there. NHIF, you're there. These are big money institutions. The other institutions, like you're now saying, you represent very many workers. You represent workers in the public service. You represent workers in the private sector. So you have a lot of influence and leeway. My question is, do unions in Kenya really utilize the power that they have to get the things that they want?
Well, history, there's a valuable history about the roles that trade unions have done. Even pre-independence, we had a lot of role we played, even in the struggle for the independence of this country. The likes of Malkat Singh were trade union leaders. People like Tomboy were trade union leaders. They played their role. Dennis Akumu played his role during that time. All of us have. Even the current Secretary General of COTU has played quite a significant role in the political development of this country. And I think we'll continue playing our role. The problem is, what role can we play? Do you work with the government? Do you affiliate to the government? We believe ourselves as a policy that we need to work with the government, because under the ALO structures where we have membership, we have a tripartite nature of structure, which have worked very well for us locally and even globally. So FKE, the government through the Ministry of Labour and COTU will have to work together all the times. So when you see us sometimes working together, talking for the government or talking about what government has achieved or what you have achieved together with the government, it's not because we want to get an affiliation so that we are part of government, and whatever they do, we close our eyes to. No, we don't do that. But we need to say that, okay, this country belongs to us, and so if there's something good that we can do collectively in the interest of the members, then that's what we must do. And sometimes we are blamed because people believe that we must oppose for the purpose of opposing. And I think personally, from where we are at our age today, I think if we don't get a way of getting what we can get from the government without necessarily being compromised, I think that's the way we need to go.
So it's striking the balance between being compromised and being active. Positive activism.
I think we have been relatively active. If you remember the days of NSSF, if it was not for the trade union in this country, if it was not for COTU, a lot of money would have disappeared. But we did our best. We held them ransom. We put them to court. And together with FKE, we were able to control the funds. And today, I'm told we have over 300 billion portfolio in SSF. Both Francis Atwoli and Jacqueline Mogo have left. But, of course, their term expired. And there's a new team whom we believe would be able to work together with those in place so that we get that we protect the funds, so that if those funds are protected, then when you and I retire, if we are members of NSF, you get our money instantly. There's a lot of improvement so far. It's not the days when you take 1-2 years before you claim money. The offices have been taken almost to all the counties today. So I think that's an achievement. That's part of the work we did.
But I have a question.
Please.
Can you point me to an example where trade unions have actually influenced policy? In all your, 50 years in trade unionism, where trade unions have actually influenced policy in government?
Well, I don't know what would define policy now, but I think let me talk from the recent ones.
Yeah.
During the time we had a lot of problems, the 2007, 2008, we were the main drivers of the Agenda 4. And we went around the country talking to the people, telling the government what they need to do and what they should not do. We talked to the people, and I think the peace prevailed, and we are part of that agenda. I remember Kofi Annan, the late Kofi Annan, telling us, look, you are the only people that now are independent and can be able to drive this agenda. We did our best. The documents were raised. But now, beyond that, we cannot be part of the system now to implement what was actually passed. There are many things that we did during the time we were driving the BBI thing. We were told we were pro whatever we wanted to get other people. But I thought, if we thought that, okay, let's look at even the constitution of this country. We were part and parcel of the constitution making. I sat in Bomas. And we were able to bring even under the Bill of Rights, Section Article 41, which talks about trade unionism. So that's an achievement. In 2007, we brought in the new labor laws. That's 5 sets of labor laws. That was an improvement. So that today, many countries, like our neighboring countries, will come here to look at what we did, how we made it, and some of them have done a little bit of that. We picked ours from our counterparts in South Africa. And I think from where I sit, I think we have done quite a bit. But, to the extent that everybody is satisfied that we have done or that
everybody can see what you've done.
Yes, but behind the scenes, many people just look at COTU. But COTU, being an umbrella body, has no impact on what we do on the grassroots. Because, like I said, in my union, Communication Workers Union, I have about 18 companies that fall under my umbrella. And we have a recognition agreement between us and those companies, and we do CBS regularly. So if we don't come up here and say, today I signed a CBA, sometimes there's people who want to publicize themselves that today I signed this CBA, so that thing. But those of us who have signed as many CBAs as possible, it's not news for us, so long as our members know that we have signed the CBA. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I signed a CBA for Telecom Kenya. As much as they are going through difficult times, they were able to give me a CBA. For the next 2 years. Tomorrow, I think I'll be signing one with a company called Gipro. And I'm now negotiating one with the KBC. I'm doing one with the CA. And we do them silently. We don't need to go in the press and say, today we did the CBA, we got so much percentage. And there are so many other companies that are signing CBAs almost on a daily basis. But we don't get to the press to market that. Sometimes employees say, look, ukienda kutangaza, landlords will be coming to increase. So sometimes we have those kind of problems. But we are doing quite a lot of work behind the scenes.
Okay.
To that extent, I think we have done well. But we take, of course, this need for improvement.
Let's take a break. Benson Okwaro Deputy Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions. He's also the General Secretary of the Kenya Communication Workers Union. He's our guest this morning. We are talking about trade unions. Is it time that trade unions set the agenda? We are looking at it from the background of the current salary delays. Is it time for trade unions to set the agenda? He says a lot of work is actually done and achieved by trade unions in the country.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Benson Okwaro, Deputy Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU. Delayed salaries is our conversation this morning. Benson, the government, we started at this point and decided, in fact, there's something that they haven't said. The government is having challenges paying salaries on time. Government and then state agencies. Okay? The president says, yeah, it's a challenge, but also it's because of the heavy debt burden that we have, and we're not going to be able to pay. Now, yesterday there was a news item in the papers which was talking about the Union of Civil Servants and the one for county workers reaching out to COTU, saying we would like to take some industrial action.
Yeah, I think this is a very serious matter that is affecting this country at this point in time. Salaries has always been delayed in many aspects. Normally, there are dates set for payment of salaries in many institutions. I can give an example of KBC, where I have a CBA with them. And the agreement is that the salary should be paid by latest 28th of every month, so that every member is supposed to be able to know what to expect, and then when he should expect that money, and how he can be able to plan his or her things. But for many reasons, we have had some on and off, sometimes delayed up to the first week of the following month. And it started I think about 5, 6, 7 months ago. I'm giving an example of KBC. And I think until even the previous month, I think it was paid, I think earlier, either on second or third. But this time, I think until now, we made calls. I made calls, and imagine I'll make a telephone call to Samuel Maina and tell him, look, what's happening? He will not take your call. So those are the kind of things that we go through. He didn't take my call. The next thing I see now is a circular posted to members saying we may not pay you before Christmas, before Easter. And then you see it circulating. Then it has, many other people also did the same. But I think this still points at, to me, is what I would call mismanagement of these institutions. The government may partly be blamed, because I know every year each institution has a board, and the board will always do a procurement of all the services they want, and through their finance committee, they will be able to allocate funds through a budgetary process, which will then say, look, this is a kind of money that we need. Of course, you need to compare your income against the expenditure on that particular year. You will have to look at the previous expenditure and the budget, and then if there's any improvement that you need to do on the new budgets, of course, with proposals, which will have to go to the Treasury. And once it's approved to the Treasury, where the government needs to provide grants, like in the case of KBC, that grant is always provided. But what we saw this year, when the Kenya government came into power, they needed to raise some 300 billion shillings. So the first they did was to get us 20 million from there, get us 200 million from there, and they took it. So if that was part of the salary for this organization or for part of their budget, then you need to reorganize your budget. Definitely there will be a deficit. And once there's a deficit, then you have to look at what is it that we are supposed to do so that we cut off.
Yeah.
And before you do that cut off, you also need approval of your parent ministry and all the way to the Treasury. So let me give an example of KBC, which I know well. KBC is not a profit-making organization. So it depends on grants from the government. It depends on the coverage they do in Parliament, both Senate and the National Assembly. So once they do that, they depend on that money to be paid to them by the same treasury, who now says they're broke. So if they don't pay, how would KBC get the money to pay the salaries? How would then KBC get the money if they are not given those the grants? Because KBC is not supposed to make business; it's supposed to provide
It's not a
services.
profit-making institution.
It's not a profit-making institution. They make money, but they make money in what I would say is maybe controlled. If you can't say that, look, we want to do this so that we can expand there. Even that expansion will be dependent on the ministry the parent ministry. So I think that's a problem. So what is causing the current salary, if you ask me, is that there is a remote control from the treasury, from the government into some of these institutions. Like the president said yesterday, I think I didn't see the president as I was traveling, but I remember seeing what the deputy president said, that we opted to clear debts first before paying salaries. You look at that, and to me, it's a ridiculous statement from somebody of that high caliber, because the government relies on taxes. So if you pay salaries, you recover the taxes to get the money to KRA, which will then go to the government, and the government will be able to clear debts. I mean, if I owe you debt, you'll just tell me, look, I can't pay you today, I pay you by 10th. Pay salary, recover the money from the staff, get KRA having money, then you say, how much have you made? We are paying 500 million to them. How do you pay the debts first and before you pay this? And they don't care about the morale of the employee. The employees have got school fees to pay. The employees have got to get transport to their place of work. The employees have got rents to pay. The employees have mortgages in the banks which they've got to pay. You don't care, and some of that money is supposed to be paid by 9th of every month. Today we are talking about 12th, and you have not paid them salary. If they are going to pay that money, they will be surcharged.
There'll be arrears.
There'll be arrears.
Penalties and interest.
So it is ridiculous. So I think, in my view, if I had to advise the government, I don't know how the economists are advising, but I think, yes, we must clear the debts. And these debts are not, they keep on telling us the debts because of the previous government. Those who are in the know talk about these debts picking up from the days of Moi to this date. So it's not a debt that you can say, you must pay today and clear. They will even leave some of those debts before they pay. So I think it's not safe to go. And I think as trading leaders, I think we need to stand up and be counted on this.
But then, Benson, the PFM Act, and in fact, I think even the Constitution says the first charge from the consolidated fund should be the debt.
Yes.
So whatever money is there, first, when you look at the priority of things to do, first thing you do is pay debt. Even what the deputy president was saying, we opted to instead of, it's not like you didn't have a choice.
Yeah, but
the law says you must first pay debt and then pay.
No, but if things are operating normally, what I'm talking about, the grants I'm talking about, ought to have been done
already in place.
And that money should be in the accounts of those corporations, in those ministries. Because there's a budgetary allocation that was done in June last year, and each ministry was given its funds, which includes, if a budget was done correctly, should include salary for staff. So now you are not going back to say, look, we are not going to get money now from the treasury to go and pay salaries. The ministries should have the salaries. The Public Service Commission should have the salary. The Teacher Service Commission should have the money to pay. NITA, where I'm a board member, should have the money to pay. We are going through those problems. KBC should have money to pay. So then the commercial ones like Postal then must be charged to go out there and make business. The government need to enable them, give them enabling environment to do the business. That's all that is supposed to be done. So where we are now, I think there was just something that went wrong. We don't know what it is, but I don't want to relate it to the issue that we're paying debts. Debts have always been paid, but salaries were always paid.
Always paid on time.
I remember also in the middle of March with the supplementary budget. And as Mr. Okwaro says correctly so, all these things are put in the budget. That's why you have a budget. And that budget also includes debts, meaning money for paying debts is budgeted for. So it's not a question of prioritizing it.
Today.
No. It is part of the budget process.
Correct.
And plus, the debts, we said this in the previous hour, the dates when they are due are known well in advance. It doesn't surprise you the day before.
So there's something amiss somewhere. We need to be told. I don't know how. This is a role that all Kenyans need to talk to. Yes, we have a role as trade unions in this country. We need to work together collectively in some forums where I sit. We are working very hard on that. And so maybe I cannot conclude on what kind of action we need to sit as a COTU board and decide the next course of action. But as you have said rightly, we need to get away on how to take our position and tell the government that salary must be paid and paid on time. You know, I heard you talk about the issue of strikes.
Yes.
Strikes has been a tool that we have used over the years. But in many countries, I remember during the COVID time, COVID came for the first time, and it was a big elephant. Where nobody knew how to handle. But we sat as a tripartite and said, look, let's get some kind of MOU that would mitigate these factors, because they were new to us. At that time, we thought maybe it will be 3-month time, 6 months time. It took years. But the MOU helped us to mitigate some of those effects, to protect employment. We've went to the level of suspending CBS, so that if that would help the companies to retain the employees, so that the wage burden does not become big. We did that. Now, during Okwaro Atan's tenure at the Ministry of Labour, he thought that we need to look at an alternative dispute resolution, so that it is not only strikes that would work. And I'm a member of that team, and we have done so well in the public sector. That's why you have not seen a lot of strikes. But you remember early this year, the doctors sat with the Ministry of Labour and the
Health,
the county councils, and they said, we are paying. Yesterday, I saw them saying, look, we have not been paid months on end. So what is now? What do you expect the General Secretary of KMPU to do, and yet is paid? Then he will have to call a strike. But then the problem, the government has become headed. They don't care. Even in a medical institution like that, there was some time when Oluga called a strike for almost 5 months, and they didn't care. And then the trade union will be blamed, or you don't care about the health of the people.
Yeah.
But why don't you care about the staff who are also our own kind of children? So when people sit on the table and agree and make an agreement that let's go back to work, but we are going to pay, let that be honored. If it's honored, then the trade unions will be able to come to table to reason.
But this is where the issue comes in, Okwaro. Every time we hear trade unions have entered into negotiations, a return to work formula has been agreed, and the CBA is going to be signed and all, and a strike is called off. The next time we hear the union speaking is the union complaining that the government did not honor the terms of our return to work formula, the terms of our CBA. We've heard it with COTU, we've heard it with, not COTU, with the teachers union, NAT, we've heard it with doctors now, we've heard it with very many others.
We've heard it with the what are they called? Other health...
the clinical workers, nurses. We hear it all the time. So it's like the government has gotten to that point where, union, as long as you tell the union first your strike is illegal, then come we negotiate, then we return to work formula, and then you go back to work.
No, that may not be a right statement. We unions are Kenyans, and we believe in our country. And if I have a cabinet secretary, and we have maybe the chairman of the COG, for example, of COG seated in a meeting, and we say, yes, we didn't have funds, now we have funds. We are able to pay you next month. I think it's only fair to give them that chance, because we know how government systems operate. And that's why you see, if I talk about us in COTU, for example, it's only the doctors that are our members, and I think NAT is our members. These other civil servants are not members of COTU. So they operate on their own. They have a union called the TUC. So this has been an effort by government to try to weaken trade unions in this country. So during the time of that former CS, I don't know his name now, they were from Mombasa, I think he formed something called Puseto. We fought very hard, and it died somewhere before it worked. And then now after it failed, he left the ministry, and then TUC started. Teachers, whatever were under TUC, they saw the need that TUC could not help them because under the rules of this government, under the tripartite arrangement, under the ALO conventions and the rest, is that the most representative national center is the one that goes there. So NAT came back to us. And I think Kupet has going to come back to us. Doctors are with us, nurses are with us. So we only have the civil servants and I think the university unions. And I think the government has also tried to create because of the freedom of association in the constitution, to create as many unions as possible within one sector so that the whole confusion is there.
It's watered down completely.
We tried to go through, when we were doing amendment of the constitution, to create the National Health Service Commission so that they will be under one commission like the teacher service. They completely ignored it because they want the unions to be weaker. That's why you have a nurses union, a doctors union, laboratory technicians, you have
clinical officers,
you have everybody else. Go to the universities, you have people they call non-teaching staff, university lecturers, all those kind of
academic
things.
staff.
They are mixed up. So as you do your negotiations, you find the salary structure for WASU, one for Kudea and one for whatever. One for the doctors are also there in the same university, and this confusion is that deliberately, and they use the courts to register those unions, because you go to court, they say, look, you have the workers have the right to belong to that union. So what do you do beyond that? They are registered and they go there. So they got 30 members. Some of them I would just call them briefcase general secretary, and they are comfortable. Look at the teachers' unions. There's COPET, there is NAT. We have one for the
early
school teachers, early childhood. We have one for the special needs. And there's one which I think the ladies also started to break away from that. I don't know what the name. So all of them are started so that definitely to weaken the unions. So what are we supposed to do if courts cannot help us? Because once you go to court and you lose it, of course, we normally go up to the Liberations Court. If you have the power to go climb to Court of Appeal, you can go up to the Apex Court. But that depends on your capacity. You are struggling with the little money that you are getting, which the employees have not been paid. Once they are not being paid,
they can also remit their membership.
You can't remit the membership. So now the unions are weakened. So we are going through a very
difficult catch-22.
It's a catch-22, but we are struggling.
Bon Okwaro, we'll invite you again so you come, and we now talk about how then can the unions rise up, right, and be able to then address all these challenges. Asante sana for joining us today.
Thank you so much. I wish it could have been longer.
Yeah. Benson Okwaro is the Deputy Secretary General of the Central Organization of Trade Unions.